My name is Jake Miller, 32 years old, and today I stepped out of the most beat-up Toyota Camry taxi I could find on purpose. The car door creaked loudly. It's grown painfully out of place among the rows of luxury vehicles parked in front of the Empire Hotel, a towering glass fortress in the heart of Upper Manhattan. The scent of Chanel perfume wafted through the revolving doors, crashing into me like a bitter reminder of the world that once slammed shut in my face. It's been 10 years since Amanda, my sister, tricked me into signing away everything after our parents died. She had me sign a stack of legal documents and then kicked me out of the only home we ever knew. 10 years? Not a single call? Not one word. Just silence and contempt. And now she was getting remarried. Right here, in a venue I secretly purchased 2 months ago. The taxi pulled away, leaving me standing in a no-label charcoal suit. I reached into the inner pocket of my jacket and gripped a thick envelope. On it was a red seal that read, Property Title, Empire Hotel, Blue Fox Holdings, LLC. As I passed a Bentley, a Mercedes, and a sleek black Phantom, I heard the click of high heels behind me. Before I could turn around, a familiar voice sharp as ever cut through the air. Oh my God, you're still alive. I turned. Amanda stood there, radiant in a crystal-encrusted wedding gown. Eyeliner sharp, mascara thick. Her eyes scanned me from head to toe like she was scanning a clearance item. People nearby began to take notice. A few whispers floated in the air. Oh, I figured you'd show up on a bicycle or something. But that rusty cab? Honestly, it suits you. She laughed, then turned to Marcus, her new husband. Marcus, this is my little brother. Don't be surprised if he asks for money. Marcus gave me a half smirk, the kind of expression only Wall Street types seem to master. Oh, I thought you were part of the AV crew. Amanda shrugged. Jake couldn't even handle that much. She casually reached out and brushed the shoulder of my jacket with her fingertips, as if testing the cheap fabric. Hopefully you've got enough for the buffet. If not, I'm sure the kitchen's got some leftover rolls. Laughter bubbled from the crowd around us. An older aunt glanced at me, visibly uncomfortable, and then quickly looked away. I swallowed hard, but said nothing. I was used to this. I'd had a door slammed in my face one freezing January night, armed with nothing but a ripped suitcase and $20 in my wallet. I slept at Penn Station, ate instant noodles scavenged from a toppled supermarket crate. Amanda had written me off as gutter trash, but now I was back, and I didn't need to say a word. The afternoon sun cut through the glass ceiling of the grand lobby, illuminating Amanda's face, every line of makeup, every ounce of her pride, all on display. I stepped through the revolving door. A staff member stood just beyond, and our eyes locked. Ray, he used to be a waiter at Mr. Lee's, an old mentor who taught me everything I know about investment and hospitality. Now, Ray was head of HR at the Empire, and the only person here who knew I owned the place. He walked up to me and leaned in, whispering. She just signed off on the platinum wedding package. Everything's set. You want to drop the bomb? Now I didn't look at him. I simply adjusted my cufflink and murmured, right when she raises her glass for the toast, let them drink first. Ray suppressed a grin and melted back into the crowd like a shadow. I walked deeper into the ballroom. French crystal chandeliers floated overhead, scattering light across silk-covered tables, crystal glassware, and white orchids. A little boy darted past me and nearly tripped on my pant leg. His mother yanked him back and snapped, Sorry, this area's for guests only. I smiled gently. Nothing to apologize for. In a few short hours, those eyes would look at me very differently. The envelope in my pocket was still warm to the touch. And I knew. The moment that paper came into the light, Amanda's smile would disappear for good. 10 years ago, I stood in front of the old wooden house in Queens that my parents had worked themselves to the bone for over 2 decades to buy. It was raining that day, but the water wasn't half as cold as the feeling I got when Amanda shut the door in my face. No explanation, no trace of remorse. "You'd better leave." "Jake," she said flatly, like she was shooing away a stray dog. "You already signed." The lawyer confirmed it. Everything belongs to me now. I didn't understand. I remembered signing a few papers after the funeral, in that suffocating little office of Mr. Jenkins, our family attorney. My mind had been spinning, heavy with grief. I didn't think much of it. I trusted my sister, the same girl I used to give my breakfast to, who used to walk me to school when Mom had to work double shifts. But it turns out that love was just the bait. Amanda used it as a shield to siphon off my entire inheritance. She'd quietly transferred the assets to her name through a clause in the will, tricking me into signing away my rights buried in a packet I never bothered to read. She didn't say another word. Just closed the door. Click. A soft sound, but it hit like a blade to the chest. I sat down on the steps, a torn suitcase at my side. Rain soaked through my jacket, dripped down into my scalp. I had exactly $23.50 in my wallet. I called a few friends, but most avoided me. Winter in New York is brutal, and no one wants to get tangled up with an unemployed, homeless man. The first 3 nights, I slept under the awning of a corner store. Then I found a small Chinese restaurant in Flushing that needed a dishwasher. I took the job. $6 an hour. The owner was a tough Chinese woman who yelled more than she spoke. I worked the night shift cleaning, taking out trash, scrubbing greasy pots. Some nights the oil would spill. I'd slip and fall flat on my back, then laugh like a lunatic because that was the only sound I heard all day. At night, I slept in the back of the kitchen, curled up on boxes of spices, wrapped in old burlap sacks. Only 2 people ever offered me any kind of kindness. The Riveras, an elderly janitor couple who worked the night shift in a building near the restaurant. Sometimes when I came out to dump the trash at midnight, they'd quietly hand me half a sandwich or a lukewarm cup of soup. They didn't say much, just a look, one of those glances that said, "I see you." One night, Mr. Lee, the restaurant owner, collapsed in the kitchen. I was the only one around. Without thinking, I called 911 and gave him CPR using what I'd picked up from YouTube months earlier. He survived, and from that day on, he treated me like family. He moved me out of the kitchen and let me sleep in his storage room. Then he started teaching me everything he knew about business. I used to own 3 small hotels in Guangzhou. He said once as he poured me oolong tea, "Lost everything when I came here. One bad investment, and you're back at zero. You're young, Jake. Learn. But don't let kindness blind you like it did me." I listened every night after work, from 1 to 3 a.m. I sat with him and learned how to calculate overhead, analyze cash flow, read balance sheets. He handed me his old notebooks, filled with formulas and hard-won lessons. Under that flickering yellow bulb, I felt myself coming back to life. I saved every penny, cut all expenses, no friends, no shopping, no Netflix, no new phone. Every week, I deposited $50 into a savings account under the alias JL. Rivera, a tribute to the couple who once shared their sandwich on a freezing night. 3 years later, I had 12 grand. Not much, but enough to take a risk. I found a tiny cafe in Jackson Heights going under. The owner, an Armenian man exhausted by the pandemic, was looking to walk away. I offered $9,000 and promised another $3,000 within 6 months if the place turned around. He agreed. I named the place Second Brew. A second cup. A second chance. I did everything: brewed coffee, cleaned floors, handled bookkeeping, ran social media, During the day, I served customers. At night, I still washed dishes. I didn't sleep more than 3 hours a night for the first 6 months. And then something unexpected happened. A tiny local magazine ran a story about a coffee shop run by a former homeless man. It went viral. CNN Local called. Then a talk show. Then a venture capitalist reached out. He wanted to replicate my model in 3 other neighborhoods. I couldn't believe it was real. I'd gone from rock bottom to inching my way up the ladder. And what I never saw coming, what I never imagined, was that Amanda would be the one to hand me the perfect opportunity for revenge. When she booked her wedding at the Empire Hotel, a hotel I'd quietly bought under Blue Fox Holdings just a few years later, I stepped out of the local TV studio with stage lights still burning in my eyes, my back drenched in sweat, and a smile frozen on my face. The reporter shook my hand and said, "Jake, your story's going to inspire millions." I nodded politely, but the truth in my head, all I could see was Amanda. I remembered her sitting in our parents' living room, legs crossed on that leather couch, swirling red wine in her glass while looking at me like I was dirt under her shoe. "Mom left everything to me because I know how to protect it," she once said. And now I was the one being asked to sign investment deals worth 10 times the value of that house. With my first round of funding, I bought a piece of rundown industrial land in New Jersey. It was a forgotten warehouse zone abandoned after the pandemic, but its location right off the interstate and near the port caught my eye. I hired a team to refurbish the whole thing, divided the space into smaller units, and leased them out for logistics. 4 months later, Amazon Logistics signed a contract to rent 3 units. My return fivefold. I formed my own company, Blue Fox Holdings LLC, a name I picked on a whim, but the meaning grew over time. The Blue Fox, quiet, calculated, and when it bites, it never lets go. I was becoming that fox. I didn't flaunt it. Nobody knew I was wealthy. I still lived in a modest Brooklyn apartment, took the subway, wore unbranded clothes. I stayed in the shadows because I knew silence is the sharpest blade. Amanda worked in real estate PR. She had connections, loved the spotlight, always mingling at events with influencers and press. One day, I stumbled upon her Instagram. She was at the launch party for a luxury hotel. The Empire Hotel. I zoomed in on her face. Still the same smugness. That same tilt of the chin. No regret, not even a flicker. The caption read, "The venue for my dream wedding. If it's luxurious, it belongs to me." I smiled. A week later, I sat down with my attorney. "I want to buy that hotel," I told him, "but no one can know it's me." We set up a layered acquisition 3 shell companies. With Blue Fox as the parent firm, the Empire was owned by a Spanish conglomerate downsizing after the economic slump. They agreed to a quick sale. Price $87 million. When I signed the ownership documents, I didn't feel triumph. Just quiet. The kind of quiet that comes when you finally land in the exact square you've been maneuvering toward on the chessboard. Amanda was going to have her dream wedding at this hotel. At my hotel. Her event planner handled everything. She had no clue. None of them did. I met with Ray around 10 Mabmaigime. In the management office on the 12th floor of the Empire. Ray, now the head of HR, used to wait tables back at Mr. Lee's short, grizzled beard, gravelly voice, and tight-lipped as ever. I trusted him like I trusted myself. "I can't believe you're the new owner," Ray said, his voice barely above a whisper. "So what's the plan?" "I'm not canceling the wedding," I said. "I want it to go on." But right when she stands up to give her speech in front of everyone, that's when I take it all back. Ray smirked. "Got it. I'll be the one handing her the envelope." I looked out through the floor-to-ceiling windows. New York glowed below streams of headlights, pulsing with life. Down to the corner, I saw a taxi pulling up to a curb. For a second, I saw myself in it 10 years ago. A few days later, I got the invitation from Amanda herself. My name sat at the bottom of the list, in fine print Jake Miller, no plus one. A soft slap in the face, sharp enough to sting. I still keep that invite in my wallet. A reminder she hasn't changed, and she has no idea what's coming. I chose to arrive alone, in a taxi. No bodyguards, no flashy car. I wanted to feel that sneer in her eyes one last time. To watch her smile just before I crushed it with a single sheet of A4 paper. And if she looked closely, she'd see the watermark at the corner. Blue Fox Holdings. The company I founded, the company I run, the company I used to buy. The venue of the most important day of her life. I didn't come to celebrate a wedding. I came to reclaim my name and to give Amanda the grandest wedding gift she'd ever receive. Her collapse. I sat in the back of the taxi, watching city lights smear across the dusty window. The driver, a Haitian man in his 50s, had the radio tuned to a French news station. He didn't ask much, just glanced at me once through the rearview mirror and said, "Wedding tonight." "Huh?" I nodded, then turned back toward the window. Not in the mood to talk. I wasn't calm. In fact, my insides were screaming. A part of me wanted to turn around, skip this wedding, disappear forever from Amanda's world. But the other part, the part she'd crushed, betrayed, and humiliated, had been waiting for this moment for years. Thousands of nights, I'd imagined it. No one knows what it cost me just to stand here today. After that first big win, I thought I'd escaped rock bottom. But reality hit harder than I ever expected. 5 years ago, I sunk almost everything I'd earned from the New Jersey logistics deal into a boutique hotel project in Charleston, South Carolina. It was a gorgeous old French-style building. I was sold on it by a man named Carl, a seasoned partner who talked like money was just a formality. Carl had the perfect image-tailored Italian suits, a calm, confident tone, and the ability to juggle spreadsheets like a magician. He showed me the site, the projections, the profit forecasts. I believed him. Too much. 3 months after wiring the funds, Carl vanished. Bank accounts drained. Phone disconnected. I flew to Charleston, tracked down the address. The property had been seized for unpaid taxes a year earlier. The whole thing was a scam. A flawless one. I sat in a cheap motel room, staring at a bank account with less than $3,000 left. I didn't eat for 3 days. Then I caught a bus back to New York. That night, I wandered aimlessly toward the Williamsburg Bridge. And for a moment, just a single terrifying moment, I thought about ending it. But I didn't. I remembered Mr. Lee, that dim little room that always smelled like soy sauce and old tea. His voice echoed in my mind. Death is the easy ending. Living is the hardest, deepest revenge. So I came back. There were no restaurants left to wash dishes at. I got a job as a janitor at a small hotel, looking up at people who lived the life I once dreamed of. Minimum wage, saving coins. I didn't rush into new deals. Instead, I studied. I learned how to read contracts, took courses in corporate accounting, commercial law, and how to trace shell entities. I read financial statements like they were treasure maps. And this time, I didn't trust anyone, not even myself. It took me 3 years to rebuild my capital, but I moved slow. Every step, triple-checked. I invested in parking lots, short-term motels, extended stay units near hospitals, low-profile properties, and high-demand zones. The returns weren't flashy, but they were consistent. Quietly, I rebuilt my portfolio, and when the real estate market bounced back after the pandemic, I sold off a chunk netting close to $9 million after taxes. For the first time in my life, I wasn't just surviving, I was playing the game. I leased a small office in Manhattan's financial district. Put up a modest sign, Blue Fox Holdings. No one knew my face, I rarely appeared in media. But in small cap investor circles, my company name began to carry weight. Calls started coming in, brokers, franchisers, people looking for capital. Then, one day, Ray texted me. Ray, the same guy who once waited tables beside me at Mr. Lee's Empire Hotel, is being shopped for a quick sale. He wrote, "Owners want out of NYC." I remember asking just one thing: how much Ray sent the figure. And just like that, every piece fell into place. Amanda had said she'd host her wedding there. I remembered the Instagram post, the arrogant caption. I called my lawyer. We formed 3 shell companies, folded into Blue Fox Holdings. It took only 4 weeks to close the deal. The day I signed the final transfer, I sat in the Empire's rooftop boardroom, a black coffee in hand, while the rain hammered the windows. I stared down at the street, remembering the night Amanda kicked me out in the pouring rain. And suddenly, I laughed. A deep, low, aching laugh. No one knew I was the new owner. I told Ray to keep everything under wraps. The staff kept operating as usual. I even approved Amanda's wedding contract champagne service. Live music. Floral dancers, every last luxury she'd requested, because I wanted her to taste every drop of victory. Before I flipped the glass over, the ceremony happened on the exact day I'd planned. I wore a $79 rental suit, took a taxi, walked through the front doors of the building I now owned. I remember Amanda's look. That smug little smile curled just right. But I also remember something else, the cream-colored envelope in my jacket pocket. Inside was proof of everything. Not just the deed to the hotel, but the power to rip down the fake little kingdom she'd built around herself. And this time, I wasn't trembling. I wasn't there to attend a wedding. I came to destroy. And I was going to do it. Beautifully. The Empire Hotel's grand ballroom that night shimmered like a cathedral. Beneath 6-meter-high crystal chandeliers, everything radiated a level of curated luxury down to the fold of each napkin. Guests in tuxedos and fishtail silk gowns sparkled under the lights, their diamonds and champagne flutes catching every glint. A string quartet played canon in D from the corner of the room. The whole place felt like a stage built solely for Amanda's pride. She stood at the center of it all, cloaked in a Swarovski-encrusted wedding gown that probably weighed more than a child. Smiling graciously, air-kissing every powerful guest in her orbit: investors, attorneys, designers, and a few verified influencers. Amanda looked like a queen, and in their eyes, she truly was. I walked in quietly, a shadow slipping into a room drenched in gold. She didn't notice me at first. I hovered near the bar, where the lighting was dim and low, just enough for me to watch without being watched. Ray had set everything up perfectly. Right on schedule. At 8:45 sharp, when Amanda would raise her glass for her thank you speech, I'd step forward. Until then, all I had to do was wait. Wait and savor the final act of my sister's performance. Jake. A voice cut through my thoughts. I turned and saw Marcus the groom squinting at me, trying to place my face. "Have we met before?" he asked, in a tone halfway between politeness and dismissal. I smiled. "Maybe when you signed the rental agreement for this ballroom." He chuckled, clearly confused but not interested enough to dig deeper. To a man like him, I was just another anonymous staffer in a cheap suit. He clapped me on the shoulder and walked away, completely unaware of what I'd just said. I took a sip of wine, eyes locked on Amanda. She was now being guided toward the stage by the event coordinator. The mic buzzed softly 1, 2, 3, and the room quieted. Ladies and gentlemen, Amanda's voice rang out, smooth as honey. Today is such an important day for Marcus and me, but it's also proof that if you believe in yourself and refuse to let anyone hold you back, you can have it all. I chuckled under my breath. Refuse to let anyone hold you back. What a choice of words. A thinly veiled jab, no doubt. Maybe even aimed at me, the brother she discarded like a broken suitcase on her way up. And I want to thank all the people who believed in me, who stood by my side. Her voice grew warmer, her eyes misty. This was the moment. Ray appeared, silent and swift, blending in like any other server. But I saw him. He stepped up and placed a cream-colored envelope gently on the edge of the podium, dipping his head in a polite nod. Amanda, I called out, my voice carrying from the last row of tables. Calm and clear. You might want to read that before you go on. The room froze. Amanda turned, her eyes locked on mine, and the color drained from her face. She opened the envelope with trembling hands, drawn in by the sudden, absolute silence. The murmurs began. Marcus stepped up beside her, frowning at the envelope. She pulled out the document, scanned the first few lines, and her face went ghost white. I stepped up the small stairs to the stage, eyes never leaving hers. That's the deed to the Empire Hotel. I said, I, Jake Miller, am the legal owner, under Blue Fox Holdings. And per clause 4 in your event contract, the owner has full authority to terminate any function due to ethical violations or reputational harm. A collective gasp rippled through the guests. Amanda opened her mouth, but no words came. Marcus snatched the paper, eyes racing across the lines. Then he turned to his bride. What the hell is this? She was shaking. Jake, what is this joke? This is my wedding. I leaned into the mic, voice unwavering. No, this is the day you finally reap what you've sown. Silence. Somewhere in the corner, a champagne glass shattered. A woman whispered, "Oh my God. He owns the hotel." I looked at Ray and gave him a nod. Immediately, the speakers cut off. The chandeliers dimmed to a sterile white light. Servers began clearing plates and removing drinks. Another staffer walked onto the stage holding a sign, "Event concluded." Panic bloomed across Amanda's face. No, you can't. Jake, you can't do this. This is my wedding. You're my brother. I looked her straight in the eye. You were my sister, but you buried me 10 years ago. Now it's my turn to bury what's left of you. Marcus turned to her. Face dark. Tell me what you did to your own brother. You knew about this, didn't you? Amanda backed up, bumping into the podium, eyes wide and glassy but refusing to cry. No one came to her defense. The guests just stood there, stunned, like they were watching a live tragedy unfold. I faced the room. I apologized for the interruption, but I couldn't let a lie continue to reign in a place I nearly gave my life to own. Then I stepped off the stage, leaving Amanda frozen in place, drenched in spotlight, her wedding dress glowing white, her makeup streaking down in ruin, still clutching that single piece of paper like it could somehow hold together a dream already crumbling. I stood at the edge of the ballroom, watching chaos ripple outward like oil spreading over a still pond. Just moments ago, it had been a wedding bathed in splendor laughter, string music, and golden lights. Now guests awkwardly rose from their seats, whispering, glancing around in confusion as servers swiftly cleared plates, flutes of champagne, even the wedding bouquet. Amanda was still on stage, frozen in place. Her hands trembled, blush streaked. Mascara ran down her cheeks in 2 black rivers. She looked like a porcelain statue cracked in front of 100 witnesses. Marcus hurled the paper to the floor. I invested how much in this, he snapped. The invites, the press, the relationships, he turned toward Amanda. Eyes like ice. And you didn't think to tell me the hotel was owned by your brother. You let me walk into a damn trap in front of all these people. Amanda opened her mouth, but nothing came out at first. Then barely a stammer. He was a nobody. I didn't know. I thought you thought he was still scrubbing dishes. Marcus growled, then stormed away. Whispers spread like wildfire. Is he really the owner? Wait, Amanda stole her brother's inheritance. Didn't he used to be homeless? I took a deep breath, kept my expression neutral. This wasn't a moment for gloating. I didn't need to say more. The truth was doing the work for me. I slowly approached the stage, stopping just a few feet from her. Amanda looked up, her lip trembling. Jake, I'm sorry. I didn't know you'd... I just wanted to have a good life. I looked at her, and for the first time, I didn't see a queen. I saw a frightened woman clinging to fading illusions. The same tears and soft words she used to manipulate me all those years ago. What did you say to me when you kicked me out of the house? I asked, softly. Oh, right. You'd better leave, Jake. You already signed. Her eyes cracked open like glass under pressure. I turned to the crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, I didn't come here to ruin a wedding. I came to reclaim the truth. 10 years ago, this woman tricked me into signing away my inheritance after our parents passed. She stole everything, kicked me out, left me on the streets, broke in the dead of winter. Silence, you know how? Not even the clink of a glass. I survived. I continued. I washed dishes, slept in storage rooms, ate leftover sandwiches, but I never gave up. And today, I'm here, not as a victim, but as a man who came to teach a very simple lesson: no one stays buried forever. Scattered applause broke out. A few guests nodded, but I didn't need their approval. I turned back toward Amanda. She dropped to her knees, collapsing under the weight of it all. Jake, please. I have nothing left. You've already won. I bent down and picked up the deed from the floor, then stepped back to the microphone. Voice calm. This wedding is over. Anyone who wishes to leave, feel free. But before that, I have one final announcement. I gave Ray a signal from the side entrance. An elderly couple walked in, Mr. and Mrs. Rivera, the hotel janitors. They looked around, bewildered. Guests turned in their seats. Amanda sprang halfway to her feet, stunned. I held the mic. When I had nowhere to go, when I slept in shadows and silence, these two people shared their sandwich with me. They gave me kindness when the world gave me nothing. I turned toward them. Mr. and Mrs. Rivera. As of today, you are granted lifetime residence in the presidential suite on the 17th floor. Free of charge. Forever. This time, real applause erupted. Mr. Rivera wiped his eyes. Mrs. Rivera covered her mouth, trembling. I looked back at Amanda. There was nothing left in her gaze but numbness and shame. I undid the top button of my suit, loosened my tie, and spoke one last time. I don't want my money back. I just wanted my place. And Amanda, from this moment on, you are banned from entering any property owned by Blue Fox Holdings. Then I turned and walked away, never looking back. Behind me, the crystal chandeliers clinked. A wedding dress dragged limply across the marble floor, and a glittering world began to crack. But I stepped through the grand doors head high, and for the first time in 10 years, my heart at peace. I stepped out of the Empire Hotel into the cool night air, the wind brushing gently through my hair. The glow of the street lamps bounced off the building's gleaming glass facade, the scene of a different kind of explosion. Not one made of gunpowder, but of truth. A teenage valet stared at me, eyes wide, whispering to his coworker, "Is that the guy who just blew up Amanda's wedding?" I didn't respond. I just straightened my jacket and walked slowly down the granite steps. Every step felt like I was leaving behind a prison made not of walls, but of 10 years' worth of buried rage. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel bitter. I just felt light. Behind me, I heard heels clattering in panic. Amanda. Jake. Wait. Please, I stopped. Didn't turn around. Her voice cracked. Jake, I've lost everything. My reputation. My friends. Marcus, he left. What more do you want from me? I turned to face her. She stood there, heels wobbling on the stone steps, her wedding dress dirty from the ballroom floor. Makeup gone. Face bare, exhausted. Scared? Hollow. No one took anything from you that you didn't already steal from me. I said, I just gave you a taste of the life you handed me 10 years ago. Jake. I know, I was wrong, she whispered. I panicked. Mom and Dad died so suddenly. My job was falling apart. I was just trying to survive. But I was wrong. And I'm sorry. I looked at her for a long time. That apology, if I had heard it 10 years ago, might have saved both of us. But now, too much had happened. And I wasn't the same man who once curled up under an awning. Hoping the night would pass, I said, calm but firm, I forgive you, Amanda, but I don't forget. And I'll never let you step into my life again. She stayed silent, then slowly lowered herself onto the steps, burying her face in her hands. Tears spilled down freely. The woman once celebrated like royalty, now alone. No one dared approach her. Not one soul offered a hand. I turned and walked away, and this time, I didn't look back. A few months later, an investment magazine ran a story, "The unknown CEO behind the Empire Hotel acquisition is none other than Blue Fox Holdings." Young founder. The article spread quickly, but I declined every interview. I didn't need the world to know my face. I already had what I came for: justice for my past, and peace for my future. I spent most of my time on the 17th floor of the Empire, where Mr. and Mrs. Rivera now lived. They invited me to dinner every week. Mrs. Rivera's chicken soup still tasted just as it had on those cold nights years ago. And every time she told a story, I felt like I was back in a place where nothing could hurt me. Ray remained the GM. Together, we opened 3 more hotels. Boston, Seattle, and Austin, each bearing the name Empire. A quiet reminder that any empire built on lies was bound to fall. One night, I stood alone on the rooftop balcony of the Empire, looking down at the city lights. The wind tugged at my collar, carrying the scent of lavender from the garden below. I closed my eyes. For the first time in years, there was no voice of Amanda in my head. No slamming doors, no echoes of shame, just the wind. And one quiet voice within me saying, "You made it. Jake, you won." I didn't cry, but I smiled. A deep, quiet smile. The kind that comes from the soul. The lesson I leave behind. Sometimes the people closest to us hurt us the most. And when you're buried at rock bottom, you only get 2 choices. Stay buried, or claw your way up and build an empire with your bare hands. I chose the second. And in the end, I delivered the verdict not with vengeance, but with victory.